road, taking on Sacramento. LeBron James and Malik Monk firing in the first half, combining for 29 points, 6 of 10 from 3, and 6 assists. Monk, really interesting story. He's like, man, nobody in the league wants me, huh? Okay. All right. I'm gonna get my buckets and I'm gonna get that bag, and eventually, showing out in transition. Monk off glass to the ageless when LeBron and the Lakers are up 2. That's the score here when De'Aaron Fox ties it up with a drive down the lane. Kings create a turnover. Let's run. Tyrese Halliburton. He finishes. And all of a sudden, the Kings, in the blink of an eye, are up double digits after 3. Lakers trying to hang in it. LeBron, runner through the lane, keeping them within arm's length. Then Harrison Barnes, tough drive with a left. The lead's back to 9. 6-point game. Marvin Bagley, strip Monk, coast to coast. Timeout, let's talk about it. Chimezie Metu, all alone. Big-time bucket at a big-time spot. And Sacramento knocks off the Lakers, who fall back to 500, 125-116. LeBron can't shoulder much of the blame in this one. He led both teams with 34, including a dozen in the fourth quarter. Wednesday, his 30th game of the season. 872 points are the second most in his entire career through 30 games, trailing only his total in 2005-2006 as a 21-year-old man. Always enjoy our visits from Tim Legler in studio. And off air earlier, we joked about how you really haven't been asked, I guess I should say, to talk a whole lot about Chicago, which is surprising.
I was ready to dive in tonight.
Well, no, you don't get that opportunity because Brooklyn demonstrates that they arrived in one of those moods, like, oh, you guys want to go tonight? What tells you that it's tonight's a different 48 minutes on the clock for them?
I can guarantee you this: January 12th at Chicago game for Brooklyn earlier in the year was not a topic of conversation in the Nets locker room. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes as a team, you're looking for that one signature game that can galvanize your team, and it clearly. This was the moment, and it happened at halftime of this game because what Brooklyn did defensively in the third quarter was that moment where they were sending a message to a team that's saying, okay, this has been great. You're a great story. You're a really good team. And I actually think Chicago can be a little bit of a noisemaker in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But Brooklyn came out with a totally different intensity defensively that when you see them play that hard, they're almost unbeatable with the offensive talent that they have with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and the way they played tonight.
And Kyrie on the road.
Correct. And Kyrie still hasn't found his legs, hasn't found his rhythm. They're waiting on that. But in the meantime, it's just kind of one of those moments where you kind of, look around at each other. They're in a 2-point game at halftime on the road with this team that's feeling good about themselves, the way they close the second quarter, and you come out and you make it an alley fight, and it's bare-knuckle boxing, and Brooklyn went to a place that Chicago could not match. So there's no doubt that Chicago brought something out of them. You can see the reaction on the bench. This game might carry a little bit of significance for Brooklyn going forward. And now you get Kyrie 6 out of 9 coming up available because they're all road games.
Right.
That's important too. Maybe he finds his rhythm.
Durant, 27 on 10 shots. I very casually say during highlights when we have the Nets, this is best player in the world. What to you demonstrates that's who he is?
Because there is no matchup defensively that ever looks comfortable from the head coach's perspective.
Right.
Okay, that's what it is. He has an answer for anything. Whatever the situation requires, he answers it. He may be the greatest mid-range player, of his generation, certainly, and one of the greatest of all time. And you don't win championships, Scott, unless you've got guys that can dominate 12 to 18 feet. And that's where Kevin Durant destroys you because of his ability to get to a spot, rise up with a perfect stroke at 6'11", and there's nothing you can do. So he makes pressure look comfortable. So most guys, when you watch a game, you go, okay, wow, that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for that player. Nothing is uncomfortable for him, and that's what makes him the best to do it right now.
We're going to talk to Woj a little bit later about the situation in Philly as it relates to Ben Simmons, but we showed you what Joel Embiid is doing. He is carrying this team. What do you think organizationally, how are they letting Embiid down with him having to be in this spot with Simmons just in limbo?
Well, you've got Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level. No one's been better in the league in the last 2 weeks. He's in his prime. He's missed a lot of time throughout his career. You almost feel like it's a matter of time before maybe something else happens. And the guy's going out there, and I think you get a false sense of security with this winning streak because of who they're beating. They had one signature win in the entire stretch, and that was against Brooklyn. So to send him out there every night, when you've got an all-star caliber talent at home and you've done nothing to replace that talent or production, because I think you overvalued Ben Simmons from the get-go when you went into the market. Now, maybe Daryl Morey is waiting on some teams to hit a slide in January and start calling him. Teams that haven't made guys available, I guess he's waiting on that, but I think he's painted himself into a corner with what he thinks he's getting back. I think they've overvalued that from the beginning, and you're going to see them end up, I think, making a trade to get guys that they probably could have gotten in the summer. And in the meantime, you went out there and you played half a season or more without an all-star caliber player on the floor next to Joel Embiid. I think it's a disservice to him.
You make an interesting point because he's got broad shoulders and they carry the load capably, but at some point, those knees buckle right under all that weight. It'll be interesting to see, and again,
125-116. The Lakers are back at 500. 21-21 on the season. LeBron, 15 of his last 16 30-point games. He had 34 on 13 of 29, 6 assists. Malik Monk with 22. Russ with 8 points, 12 boards. Let's hear from Frank Vogel. He's speaking with Mike and the media.
Frank, you're up by 14 with about 2 minutes left in the second quarter. That wasn't the only quarter that was a tough finish to it, but what did you see at that point and how did that impact the game?
Yeah, we just had a couple dead possessions offensively, and we didn't guard anybody, to close out that quarter. I think it was an 8-0 run where, I got to look at the tape, but it felt like we settled offensively and then, didn't keep the ball in front of us and didn't support our teammates. Our shell was too spread out, and just a defensive breakdown.
What was the mix you saw tonight in terms of execution versus energy on both ends of the court?
Yeah, I thought our energy was good, and pure most of the night. We had a tough third quarter, obviously, defensively in particular. Second game in a row, the defense let us down. In the last game, second and third quarter, this game in the third quarter. So, we got to figure out what we're doing there and be better in that situation. And, obviously there's a number of ways we could execute better.
Frank, what can you guys do for Russ when he's in a slump like this? And I guess secondly, were you okay with his three-pointer kind of in the final minute with you guys down 4?
Yeah, I got to look at the tape to see about that final situation. We're working with Russ. He's receiving our coaching and just trying to put him in positions to succeed. And he's just in a slump right now. Finishing at the basket and shooting from the perimeter, and we just got to stay with it and help him through it.
Obviously, he's sat here and told us, like, I can help other ways and I can do stuff, and there were elements of that, but...
and he is.
Have you seen his confidence affected offensively at this point? There was I'm sure you'll have to watch tape. There was a layup he passed out of. It seemed, the crowd was on him.
Yeah, I don't think he's lacking in confidence. I thought that play, he sensed traffic, and we're telling all of our guys, when there's traffic, we're playing with space, find a shooter. So it's probably what he was looking at in that moment. I got to look at the tape.
Frank, Austin has had back-to-back career high scoring nights. What have you seen from him offensively? And obviously, last game kind of came in the fourth quarter of a blowout. This game came more in the action of just gameplay. What would you see from him?
He's playing great. Simplest way to put it. Very confident. Very confident in his shooting. When he puts the ball on the deck, he's got a great computer of reading help and seeing what's there. and he's a hell of a passer too. So, very impressed and pleased with how he's playing.
Any other questions?
That stretch at the end of the second quarter. You mentioned kind of, the shell had been expanded and stuff like that. I mean, you guys are trying to space the floor offensively. Is this going to be a continual challenge when it comes to perimeter defense, especially against teams that have guards that can penetrate like this? It seemed like that's kind of what flipped the game, was their ability to kind of just shoot layups.
Yeah, again, I got to look at the tape, but, I just feel like we weren't strong enough in our help positions. You know what I mean? I felt like we were leaving teammates on an island, and against a quick attacking team like this, you have to show a presence. They got to see 5 defenders, and I thought there was too many situations where we didn't do that tonight.
Saturday, the Lakers take on the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. Tip-off is at 6 o'clock right here on Spectrum Sportsnet. Join us for pregame coverage beginning at 5.